All right, guys, welcome to Chat with Kat. Today, I've got a very good business coach who specializes in money mindset. Today, I've got Karen Heroux, who is going to help you break through that glass money ceiling that you may have that's preventing you from growing in your business. So, Karen, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Catherine, by the way. So I am a certified emotion code practitioner as well as a business coach. And so I help women really up level and their limiting, like break through limiting beliefs and up level their mindset so that they can reach new heights in their business. And one of the ways I do that is really we start identifying your money ceiling. So a money ceiling is really how much have I made? Sometimes people make a certain amount and they start to plateau. So we want to identify why, because usually it's typically because of a story or a belief system that we have in place. And so we need to really start to change that. And so we can start seeing the possibilities of getting to the next level and getting there. So it's a holistic approach to business and money, if that makes sense, because we're taking into consideration your beliefs, your emotions, how you act, and then their strategy. So all of it's taken into consideration as a holistic approach. But I've been in business for going on between 4 and 5 years now. It's like 4.5 years now. And before then, I was in the 401k industry. I have a background in finance. So, but my love of studying money and how money works in the world started 20 years ago, right? So I've read a lot of books and gotten myself out of debt. And I learned a long time ago that what you think and feel really affects and drives how you act, what you can do and how you can perform. So all of this is sort of just started coming into fruition in the last 2 years, because I've just kind of shifted and added more of that into my business, because I see how it really affects women, and beautiful women who are really, they're just so talented, right? Talented women, but they don't know how to get to that next level or how to stay consistent, so that's where my work comes in.
Awesome. And I think a lot of us really need that. I know, I'm constantly struggling with that money mindset. I grew up pretty poor. And so we've never had money. So I've always been taught to save, to not overspend. You don't need that, so it's been really hard for me to let go and invest in myself and invest in classes, invest in coaches. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who's got that mentality where, what comes first? Do I make money first, or do I spend the money to acquire the skill first?
What a great question, because you can wait to make the money first, but it's typically going to take you a lot longer. So if you want to fast track your growth, investments are typically necessary. They're in every situation is different, and I would never think to say to someone, there's a certain dollar amount that feels right for you to invest, right? So if it needs to align with what you're doing. So if a coach is not aligned to you, if you're not aligned to that coach, it's not going to work anyways. Also, if your mindset's not aligned, it's not whatever the strategies a coach provides you, you're not going to follow through with. So what I would say there is really deep diving into what do you want to manifest? What are you trying to create in your life? And really think about, how fast do I want that to happen? Because a lot of people won't see progress for years when they try to do it on their own. So I do believe in coaching. I am a coach. Coaches have helped me. So the short answer is, I truly believe that if you're ready, and there are certain things you can do to know if you're ready for a coach, that coaching is a great way to fast track your growth, because you're taking their years of experience and they're providing that to you for a dollar amount, right? Typically, when you wait to make the money, you're going to come up against your own ego. There's a lot of learning. There's so much to learn. To begin with, you get overwhelmed, you're going to get sidetracked with personal stuff, and it just won't, without that accountability, it's harder. It's not that it's impossible. It totally is possible. I mean, if you are a person who is mission driven, which is one of the points I'm going to talk about today, if you have a purpose and a mission, you can make anything happen, right? But coaching is something that will help you stay accountable. It'll help you break through your own subconscious things that you can't see yourself, right? So an investment can and might feel scary, but it is, I wouldn't be where I am without it, right? I would be far behind. Yeah.
And I find that, having been coached, it kind of, if you're the type of person who is like, you keep learning, constantly learning, and you're like, oh, I know a lot, I can do this, I have all the skills and stuff. I found that having a coach, you're still going to be learning. And it also gives you confirmation that, yes, you can do this.
Right.
And they do actually give you that little shove that you need, right?
Yes.
Like, okay,
it's accountability, right?
Yeah.
It gets you out of your own way.
I know what I need to do, and I know the steps to do it. And the coach is like, okay, go do it.
Right. I mean, and there's something powerful about having to say to someone, oh, like they say, so how's that going? And you're like, well, because if you're doing it on your own, are you really going to push yourself as hard as you can be, and how are you going to, because here's what we don't, there's a part of us is called the ego. And so the ego is the part of us that keeps us want to feel stuck. And it's an ancient part of our brain that really wants us to feel safe. So where do we feel safe? We feel safe where we already know how things work. And oftentimes in entrepreneurship, to get to the next level, we have to go to and do things that we've never done before, which feels unsafe. So you're going to find the reasons of why you can't do it. Well, I've never done that before. How do I know that's going to work? And this, all these voices in your head, which really it's there to try to keep you safe. It's not a bad thing to some degree, but when you're an entrepreneur, you have to try new things. You have to learn to pivot, and you can't, when things go wrong, you can't also go inward and start using the blame or guilt or shame, all this other language that's going on, right? So having a coach there is great because they're outside of your ego. They're not hearing your ego and how your ego sounds. So they're there as a kind of a guidepost. And you can reflect back with them also, like the things that you're thinking and feeling, and they can walk you through. I had a call today with someone, and she was like, wow, you're right. That isn't going to help me. So I'm going to focus on what I can control. And so, just having that soundboard, and then accountability, right? And then of course the strategy. So
I also just talked to a client about this, and I could see that she's too emotionally involved in the situation that she was in. And I told her, make sure that you have somebody to talk to, whether it's me or family or somebody, because you may not be able to make a decision that, anybody else that doesn't have this emotional attachment to it, may do. Like
that's the key word, is attachment. So one of the things I teach is we have emotions for a reason. So it's not that we shouldn't be feeling them, but we also, when we get too attached to a thought or an emotion, we're forgetting that we're actually the energy behind those thoughts and emotions. So if you actually think that you can't, when we're attached, what I mean by attached is we're so in the feeling, we can't step back.
Yeah.
And that's the power of knowing, doing some of the things I teach, is learning how to step back and seeing your thoughts and emotions and reflecting on them, because you are not your thoughts and you're not your feelings. You're the energy behind it. And you can actually learn to step back from them and see, okay, what is this saying to me? What why are these emotions coming up? Where does it come from? How is this helping me? How can I shift it? Is it really true? Really asking yourself powerful questions, or having a coach ask you some powerful questions so that you can now start changing the narrative, right?
Yeah, being a more self-aware, right?
Yes.
Is
Yes.
is
So key. Yes.
it's so key. And I think that I've always been very self-aware.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But there are still sometimes some things just really, really hard to let go, right?
Well, you said something earlier and I want to touch on it, and that's about like what you were taught. You said I was
Mhm.
taught. I grew up. And so that's one of the things that, a way to break through your money ceiling is changing the narrative of your money story. And where do you learn your money stories? We learn them in how we grew up. We learn,
Yeah.
and if you don't put a concerted effort into changing that money story, your subconscious is going to go back to a default. And that default is what you were taught in childhood. Some people have done the work from their childhood stuff, but it's, maybe they learned something in their teenage years or in a young adult because they've had an experience. Well, now you're hanging on, that's your new default. We all have defaults. Whether we know it or not, we have a default story that's running in the background. And so the language that you said, you said, I think one of the things you said was, I was taught, you got to save, you can't spend. Well, of course, if that's a very strong belief system that you have, then now you want to go to invest. And you're like, well, those stories, the voice in your head is like, well, not only, the things you were taught is coming up in the voice in your head. Oh, you got to save, you don't have the money to do this. But the other egoic voices usually come up too, which is, how do I know this is going to work? Is it going to pay off? Is it worth the money? How do I know it's going to work for me? Those are all the common objections usually when you're putting dollar value into something, a larger purchase, right? Is it going to really work for me? Do they know? Now there's a trust issue with the coach, or if you're hiring someone is service-based, do they know what they're doing? Does their process work? All of these questions are going to come up in your mind. But mixed in with all of that is your beliefs about money and how you treat money, which you brought, like I said, you mentioned how you grew up. How do you start to shift that? And it takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. Just having the knowledge of it isn't enough. It takes concerted effort. Another thing that you could do is, another step that I believe in, is really up-leveling your support system. So if you're around people who have that same belief system of, oh, you got to always save, you can't invest, and money's scarce, and if there's not enough of it in the world, then it's going to be hard to break away from that. Right. But if you go into another, let's say there's a house with 2 rooms, and one room is filled with people who believe that all the things we just talked about, money's not, money is scarce, it's hard to come by, it's not easy to earn money, and you can't waste it, you got to save it. And or there's other money stories, right? Like people with money are evil, or they're greedy, and which I have some of family members I have that believe that, like, people with too much money are greedy, or an umpteen million reasons why money isn't there to serve you. You're not a good person if you want money, selfishness, things like that. Then you go into another room, and this room is filled with people who are millionaires, or on their way to becoming millionaires, and they believe money is so beautiful because look at all the things they can do with it. Now they have it. They have to invest again with the fast track. It helps them fast track their growth. That money is there to serve people, and in the right hands, they can help charities. They can help provide more service to their clients. They can, donate more of their time. It helps them feel more free in their lives. They can spend more quality time with their children. They have the best health care. All of these reasons why money is good for you. So you, as an entrepreneur, if you were standing in the middle and deciding which door to choose, can you see how if you chose one room, it's going to help you up level and fast track your success? But if you go in this other room, you're going to be fighting all those, all that energy.
Mhm.
of a room full of people who, so that is something that's really, you have to take into consideration, not only what do you do, but who are you around? Who are you around, and who's telling you these things? And what are you going to choose to listen to? What are you going to choose? You have to be the guardian of your own thoughts and emotions and like your energy. And so who is telling you, like the people you look up to, are they telling you the right things to help you progress to that next level?
Yeah, I've always read, who are you going to listen to? Somebody who's either at the same level as you or below, or somebody who is where you want to be. Who are you going to listen to?
Right.
Like that's like a no-brainer question, right?
Right.
And the biggest I think difference between somebody who's struggling, working paycheck to paycheck, versus somebody who's doesn't really need to work for money anymore. They have their money working for money. Really, it's the two different mindsets. It's scarcity versus abundance.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And it's all mindset. It's like, do you really believe, because money is just paper and it's being produced all the time, right? And if we think about, there's a million different ways you can make money. Most people are not aware, like they've been taught there's one way. You get a job, you get a paycheck. There's that, but if you really think about it, you could babysit for extra cash. You could go house sitting, you could cut lawns. I mean, there's side jobs you could have to make extra money. You can sell things that you don't need anymore. But obviously, as an entrepreneur, I know, as even in the entrepreneur space, there's 20, 30, 40 different strategies you could use to bring in different streams of income into your business. So I know that it's not that money is scarce, it's what you believe about your abilities or what you've been taught that money is scarce. And I lived with my grandmother for 5 years when I was from 16 to like almost 21. And she used to say, she was old, she was 60 when I moved in with her. So 60 to 65. And so she relied on her Social Security check. And what did I hear almost every month? Like, I'm on a fixed income. Right? But, she grew up in a different generation at different times. And there's a lot of opportunities that are available today that she didn't have. But that mindset, if I chose to believe that mindset and continue listening to that, is a scarcity mindset. I only have a limited amount every month, and that's it, right? And the truth is, she had a lot more than just that, but she didn't vocalize that. Her mindset was, I got this amount every month, and I got to make the most of it. So you hit the nail on the head when it comes to abundance versus scarcity. Is one of the first topics that is very prevalent in the money mindset, niche. In that field, if you've got to have an abundance mindset. You have to have an abundance mindset, and that also takes practice. If you were raised to believe that money's scarce, we have to shift and ask questions like, is that really true? Is it really true that, because if you live in America, there's abundance everywhere. I mean, there are other countries that may not be as abundant, but in this day and age, most countries that probably you and I deal with, as far as where our clients coming from, are pretty abundant. And we're abundant in not only resources, but we're not abundant only in money, but we're abundant also in resources to help us get to where we want to go.
Yeah, there's definitely no shortage of resources. You just need to look.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you
also
just need to be open-minded. Really.
And if you believe that you are meant for more, if you have that drive inside of you, that it will, the resources, if you don't know where they are right now, if you believe that you are meant for more and you stay focused and you start expanding the energy, resources will start coming to you. It can happen like that.
Yeah.
It can happen like that. You might not well, what resources do I have? You might not have a lot of money right now, but if you start thinking about and changing your perception and your reality of the abundance around you, all of a sudden you're gonna have a conversation one day. And so, you might say, Catherine might say, oh, I know somebody who's looking for XYZ, and you're looking exactly for that thing. And in one conversation, your world is opened up to a new possibility, to a new resource. Like if you think about like, oh, I can't buy, courses or whatever. Like, do you have access to a library? There's a bunch of things you can get at the library, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities for us to shift our perspective. I just know so many coaches and business owners who've used coaches who've really, who thought they didn't have the resources, and they really sat down and looked, and they decided, like, is this really what I want? And then if it's, like I said, if it's in alignment with you, what you really want, you find the way to make it happen, or the resources will show up. Ideas will come to you. Resources will come to you. So that now you can like take that action that feels in good alignment with your goals.
That's the thing. Like, you have to be willing to, if it's important to me, if it's important to you, then you'll find a way, right? It doesn't matter if you need to put it on credit card for now. If you believe and it's important, then you got to go for it. That money can be earned, right?
Yes.
But
it's a renewable resource. You can always continue. Yeah.
If you keep waiting, then that opportunity may not come again. Right. The other part of having that abundance mindset really allows you to take advantage of opportunities presented to you. Exactly. But without that, you're just going to keep letting opportunities
keep yourself in a box.
pass you by. Right.
That's right. Right. Every time and language is very, very important. And if you work with me, language is very important. So if you're saying, well, I can't, or I don't have it, you literally are putting, like, if you think of words and energy as physical in the physical form, it's like you're putting a brick every single time you say that, right? And so it's going to feel heavy. It's going to feel, but if you start thinking, well, just changing the question, well, how can I? Instead of I can't, change this, like, can I? How can I? And then start thinking and giving that time to, like, marinate a little bit in your brain. Your brain, if you ask it the right questions, will start finding the solutions for you. So, like, for example, you may, have not seen a certain type of car, and then all of a sudden you see this car, it's beautiful, it's attractive. You're like, oh, I might want that car. Now all of a sudden it's in your awareness. And you're driving down the street and you see 5 of them in like a span of 2 or 3 days, whereas before you never saw it. That's happened to you, right? So
absolutely.
It's the same thing. It's because those cars were there before you were aware of them. It's just now all of a sudden you're aware. It's brought into your awareness, and your brain is now making the connection. Oh, you like this, so let me show you more of it, right? So when you want something, and you're, instead of thinking immediately I can't, asking the right questions so that you open up the possibilities of getting there, because the possibilities make you feel hopeful. It changes your energy entirely, and then you will start to find different ways and different avenues of getting. Your brain's going to look for the solutions, different possibilities of ways of getting there. So I do also think that really having a deeper reason, like you mentioned earlier, if I really want something, you said, if I really want something, I'm going to make it happen. And this is true. And there's an analogy that I've heard several times that we're like, okay, well, it's like $5,000 is a lot of money, or let's say it's, 10,000, 5 or 10,000. Which number feels good to you right now for me to use as an example?
5,000.
Okay, so $5,000 seems like a lot of money. I don't have that. But all of a sudden, if you have an accident and your arm, is broken, and you have to have $5,000 to go to the doctor, you probably find that money. Somebody's going to give it to you, or you're going to find a resource, like you're going to dip into your 401. I mean, I'm not saying these are always great options, or you can put it on a credit card. And then I'm like, okay, since I put on the credit card and I know I can take on 2 extra jobs to make up for that, like you're going to find a way to pay for that, because your arm, you need to get out of pain. So typically when we say we want something, if you are automatically saying, no, maybe it's not really the right thing for you. But if you want it and there's a deeper reason usually, that you want it, you're going to find a way. So I like to think of these as deeper reasons, like mission driven or purpose driven. Those have the stronger pull for you, because a lot of times we think that we set a goal. A lot of people have made goals for the new year because that's typically what we do in January, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even want to say resolutions, but just goals in particular. But why do we fall off those goals? If we're not looking at the deeper reason why we wanted the goal in the first place, and we're not consistently looking at it, then our energy is not aligned to that. So we have to continue. That's why vision boards work so well, because it's keeping our goal, our mission, our purpose in front of us on a regular basis. Like one of the missions that I have, one of the purposes that I feel like I'm supposed to do is be the best mom I can be for my 7-year-old. So if I want that quality time with my daughter, I know I need a certain amount of income and to give me that time freedom. But I also want to really give quality work to my clients. I don't want to show up tired or exhausted or in a negative feeling because I'm feeling guilty that I'm not spending time with my daughter, or I'm not providing. So I have to have a certain dollar amount coming in to provide that freedom of energy, freedom of time, to be able to provide the best quality work for my clients and to give me the time and energy for my daughter. That is one of my, that's always been a pull for me. And it's going to get me through the times when willpower is going to fail me, because willpower will only get you so far, but then usually it's not strong enough to pull you through those tough times. Because, entrepreneurship, there's, you and I talked about this before, where it's an up and down kind of thing. And our emotions are, it's not always an easy journey. And so willpower is not going to pull you through that. But if you look at your vision and you look at your mission or your purpose and you're like, oh, I remember why I'm doing this. There's women in the world who need my help and who need to bring their gifts into the world. My daughter needs me to show up as my best self. I get to spend quality time with her. I get to teach her these lessons so she doesn't fall into a rut of scarcity mindset, of being able to create, the world that she wants to live in. So it really is a key piece in breaking through your money ceiling. We started the conversation out with money ceiling. That is a key piece, is staying focused on not just a goal, but like a deeper reason. That's like I said, is purpose driven or mission driven goal that really aligns with a deeper meaning that can pull you forward.
Yeah. And with having kids around, you got to constantly be thinking about what they're seeing. So setting a good example is definitely key, right? Yes. I know that, I've got my daughter who is very responsible with her money because, she started her business at a very early age. And so she's had to pay for her own stuff for the past few years. But I've taught her how to, you can have whatever you want, it's your money, but be smart about it, right? So right. I've given her tools to I guess the mindset to live by, and just be like, don't just buy everything because everybody else has it. Be smart about it. Right. Sales happen all the time. You don't have to have it right now. You don't have to have the latest gadget. Like I'm not a believer of having the latest and best gadgets and paying an arm and a leg for it. Right. So and I can see that she understands that. My son, however, like complete opposite. I want that candy. How do I buy? Can I pay you $20 so that I can buy that $5 candy? Like no concept of money at all, right? Yeah. Same household, same teachings, you know. I'm sure that'll come once he starts making his own money and understands, how hard it is to get that money. I'm
gonna jot down a note to send you a title. I can't think of the title of the book, but it's for kids, kids and money. It might even be Kids and Money, but anyway, I'm gonna remember to send that to you. It's about teaching kids. It sounds like you're doing a great job, with your daughter. And I don't know if the book will have tips on how to help your son, but I think too, he's probably also, it's not helpful that we live in a world that's conditioning us to have everything immediate access, like fast,
And my kids have everything they need, right? I don't spoil them, but so he's never known to not have things, right? So I think that might be the difference. But at the same time, he doesn't have everything that he's like, okay, I want that. Okay, you can have, like, that's not how we work. But so, I don't understand how
well, it's personalities. It's like, that's why so many personality tests and people, even your sign, like, I was born this month. This is my birthday month. So January, like Capricorns are so different than, Tauruses or what's the fish sign? Anyway, different signs, like everybody, we're so unique, right? And so his approach is just his desires. He's looking at, even if you look at like Anthony Robbins, what he teaches, there's like the human needs stuff, right? So we approach the human needs and what we want and what we think we want versus what we need our views are I don't want to say the word shaded. What's the word I'm looking for? Our view is shaped by our personalities and our experiences. So it just completely different. Their personalities are so different. And so you can get the same topic, even a memory. They might go to the same birthday party and they talk about the same birthday party a day later, and they'll have two completely different experiences. Even if they were treated the same way by the host. Even if they were witnessing the same opening of presents, they'll have different stories. Because that's how we operate. Our view is shaped by what we think and feel, and oftentimes what we believe. So if one kid believes, oh, I hate presents and I hate, birthday parties, that story, when it comes out of his or her mouth, is going to be very different than someone who says, I love birthday parties. Just the way that they describe the same event is going to come out differently. So it's interesting to see that you have, like, you're raising two kids and they just have two different perspectives on how to spend money and how to save it.
They're complete opposites in every single way. Every single way. It's interesting. So it'll be interesting to see when they grow up and to see where each of them will be at in terms of their successes, right? And success doesn't mean money, but like how they choose to live their life and what they choose to put as priority and stuff. It'll be really interesting given the exact same upbringing.
I'm hoping that over the course of time that I start diving into children as well. I typically work with only women in my business, but I want to be able to develop the mindset and how do you talk to your children with money. And I think Susie Orman has created a book on it, and I don't know if Dave Ramsey does or not, but I know there's at least 2 books that I'm aware of that have to talk about with kids and money. And these days, we didn't have this when I was growing up, but these days schools are starting to finally bring in the topic.
Are they?
Yes, not in every school district, but I have read about it because I've, being in mom groups, and also I've done the research online about, because of, the field I'm in. But some schools have started, I don't know how old your oldest is, 13, maybe her age might in some schools, but usually it's like middle school, high school age. They're starting to bring in some, 2022, I would hope that, I wish we had brought it in sooner, because I remember thinking when I graduated and I was in college on my own, like, why don't we have this in school? Why wasn't I ever taught, aside from balancing a checkbook, why wasn't I taught other money principles? There are money principles that are always true. And there are some money principles that really can be shaped based on what you think, right? So, but, money principles that are like, why don't they teach that in school?
It's
Why
because
don't
they need to keep people in the working class.
Yeah,
That's the reason. The-
yeah.
We
We
need to
don't
keep
necessarily want people to feel empowered so that we have more entrepreneurship.
They don't want that.
Right.
We
Well,
need the mass to be in the working class, right?
yes.
And that, I believe, solely is the reason, right? We
and
need the
so
farmers.
and but even farmers should know how to handle their money. And if you really think about how money affects us emotionally and how we show up in our homes, and then also as business owners, whether you're and even as an employee, if you enjoy what you do and you feel taken care of, you feel seen and heard. These are all the things, like similar topics I talk about, because I talk about like your voice and getting visible. Your voice matters, your story matters, your opinion matters, right? A lot of people don't feel like that, and so they tend to struggle more. And as entrepreneurs, we have to talk about these things. You have to be able to you have to be a leader as an entrepreneur in order to command the kind of, excuse me, I'm so sorry. In order to command the kind of income and impact that you really want to provide to people, you have to use your voice. And so when we think about how money shows up in your life, and like it affects us in a lot of different ways, and not just the dollar amount in your bank. So it affects us, it affects how we feel. If we're stressed out because we don't have enough money coming in, then it's going to affect the way we teach our children. It's going to affect us. Most people, it's going to affect, unless you're really like someone who really meditates a lot and prays, like you have a lot of patience, it's going to affect you when you're stressed. You're typically tend to get more short with your kids or your spouse, right? And so like I love the fact that you mentioned that earlier when you're saying like your kids are watching you. They're also mimicking how you behave, not just towards how you treat money, but how you treat people and how you treat them. So they're going to want to do the same thing. So if you want to show up and you want to really as the leader and as someone who is empowering and but also balanced, then money plays a factor in that, and whether you like, if you're an employee, if you're not making enough money or you feel like you are not respected at work, then it really will show up in other areas of your life, right? You're not going to feel as good in your day-to-day, comings and goings. So it really is a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about. People don't always want to talk about money,
Yeah.
but it should. I want to change that. That's one of the things that I want to, it should be. I want to normalize a conversation around money, because that is what.
Do you find that women have more issues with talking about money than men, or could you even? Yeah,
I have worked with men in the past, but not as long term as I have with women. But it just knowing the societal norms and what we've had to go through. I mean, even today, men are in the same position as women are still being given paid more. Mm-hmm. Their salaries are they're given higher salaries than women in the same position with the same experience. And if anything, like, with all the social things that have come out to light, like that is, it's pretty evident that women have not had fair share in the workplace or equal opportunity in the corporate world, right? Mm-hmm. But we also have been taught that women should be this and not that. Ancestrally, a lot in the past, women were the caretakers in the home. And the old school home dynamics was the man made money and the woman stayed home. And that trickles down, especially even if you don't live that, like today, most homes have to have two incomes. And so now, but a lot of women still have to, they've kind of been taught or absorbed these belief systems from the past being passed down to them through their ancestors, right? And through their parents, that the woman should be the one still having to cook and clean. And that's our job. We should be doing this. We're more the nurturers. And but so now we're on top of, having to work, we feel like we have more responsibility. I have had many women who feel like it's their job to do the laundry. It's not anybody else's. No one else can help them. It's their job, and they feel shame or guilt if they're not doing it, or if they're. So now, on top of all their extra duties, we have this heaviness of
Yeah.
shame, guilt, because we can't do it all.
Yes, yes. I shared a meme with my husband, and I literally broke down because it was so true. And it was a meme of it was a racetrack, okay, and it was women and men on this, and I don't know, I just get really emotionally.
Okay.
I don't know why.
It's
I'm
okay.
such a crybaby.
I think you should let it out. Don't hold it back.
So this meme was showing in this racetrack, men clear path all the way around.
Yes.
Women had laundry, had cooking, had all this stuff in front of them, these roadblocks that are preventing them from completing this track.
Yes.
And I told my husband about this, and holy cow, next
because
day
you're taking,
he's like,
you're bringing,
okay,
yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna do more to help you.
Yes. I mean, and I talked to my mom about this one day, because, you know, she was a stay-at-home mom, right? But she had help. You know, with COVID, I've had help during the summertime a couple years in a row, but with COVID, now I'm homeschooling on top of everything else, right? And I've had a little bit of help here and there, and I've got somebody who I think I'm going to try to work with in February. But I had to explain this to her. I was like, you know, if I don't call you back right away, Mom, it's because I'm either working or I'm homeschooling. I've got clients, and I have my own coach I work with. So that's still a duty, right? Or I'm cooking, or I was like, it's just not like it was when you were, you know, at home. She didn't have to work. She didn't have to homeschool. And she also had, you know, help coming into her home. So it's just a different dynamic today than it used to be. And we shouldn't have to play by the same rules that we did in the 1900s. And I say that, I know that's probably, you know, maybe in the 1950s even, but we are literally, and this is one of the things that I was taught through the emotion code, being a certified emotion code practitioner, you know, we carry ancestrally, and epigenetics teaches it too, which some coaches, you might hear people talking about that now, is we carry our ancestral belief systems, and we're taught, it's not just what we're taught by verbally, what our parents tell us. Ancestrally, there are wounds that we carry. Even Eckhart Tolle talks about in his book, A New Earth, that there's a pain body. So depending on the culture you come from, pain bodies can be bigger than other cultures. So the pain body of African Americans, especially those that were raised in America, come from America, who have ancestrally, who were enslaved, that pain body is very, very heavy. There's a lot of dynamics that have to change over time with trust and forgiveness and healing, right? Versus, you know, maybe, you know, like another group of, you know, white men who came from ancestrally from England, and they came here, there was no enslavement. So you can see like that there's a pain body that's deep and heavy. So I know you have Asian background. I have an Asian, but my mother is Asian. So my mother is from Korea, and that pain, but Koreans historically have had a lot of pain and poverty in their country. So there's a lot to work through, you know? And so her money mindset is not very, it's very scarcity driven.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it has to do with how she grew up and her culture and what her reality looked like when she was younger. So how do we start to shift that, right? We have to shift not only our own belief systems about what's possible for the future, right? And stay focused, because a lot of times we stay focused on current reality and what has happened in the past. We have to learn how to work through some of that, I don't want to use the word trauma, that some of that pain, and then shift into like what we're doing today so that we can stay focused on the future. There's a timeline, and your energy and focus, if we can stay focused more on what we want to create, it feels easier to start aligning our actions that way.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But we can also start changing the narrative from what our ancestors went through,
Mhm.
like changing the lineage for the future generations for our kids and making an impact that way. Because I know for sure I want my daughter to feel good about money and what money can do for her in her life. And I want her to understand that she's got options, she's got choices, and that, you know, she can create the life she wants, whatever it may be. And there's no shame or guilt in that.
Right.
We need to release the shame and guilt with our desires for wanting more, right? We just want a better life. Most people I know
Exactly.
just want a better life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I want for them. You don't have to have lots of money to be happy. As long as you feel success, that you've achieved what you're capable of. And that's kind of my problem is I'm constantly like reaching, right? Because I reach a goal and I'm like, okay, now I want more. Now I know that I can
That's
do
the
more,
entrepreneur spirit in you.
right? And
We were
I've
just
always been
talking
like
about
that. I
this.
kind of grew
Yeah.
up like that, right? It's just never enough. And I'm not after the money. I'm not after the lifestyle. I'm after the security. I'm after, not having to stress, right?
Yes.
About
Right.
money. That
Right.
is my biggest worry because
I mean, financial freedom is ultimately gives you, it just provides, and it's everything we've been talking about this whole call. Financial freedom provides all the things you just listed is provided through that financial freedom, right? You want less stress, you want freedom, you want to relax, you want to be able to know that your kids are being taken care of, you want to be able to enjoy. It's all about emotions and how you perceive your reality to be. So that's why I love the emotion code because and the mindset work, because the mindset is the thoughts and the emotions are how you feel. So if we can get those things aligned and start getting you to feel positive about not you, but you in particular, but if we can get people to feel more aligned with those two things, so like, if I feel like money is bad, then how am I going to get more of it to show up on my life? It's
Yeah.
really like repelling it, right? And then you
Yeah.
start feeling all the opposite things. I feel more stressed. I feel like I don't have time and I'm exhausted because I can't sleep because I'm worried about the money. And so, and then I feel bad because I didn't treat my children right, or I snapped at my husband. And so it's all a cohesive thing. So starting with certain aspects, I also believe that it's also in my work, I believe there's a spiritual component. So when I said earlier on this conversation about you're the energy behind the thoughts and the feelings, right? I believe we all have souls, and that is the energy behind the thoughts and the feelings. So when you're attached to it, it's easy because your thoughts and your emotions can change multiple times a day, right? So in the morning you're happy, in the afternoon you feel stressed, and then 5 minutes later your kids make you laugh, and so your emotions are like this. So if you don't know how to step back from it and see operate from that love, that space of energy and pure love, then it's easy to feel more out of control, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a spiritual component in what I do too, because I do believe we are beautiful energies that have choices. And we are able to kind of pull back and really look at the bigger picture from a different space than just thinking or feeling.
Well, that's amazing. I've learned a lot. I hope people are listening and learning a lot from this and really thinking about or being more conscious about
Yes, conscious, yes.
about how they feel about money and about why they think the way that they think, and see if they can correct that. So if you guys are feeling like you're in the space where you need to get over this money mindset, be sure to contact Karen. And Karen, we'll put a link underneath here in the comments so that you can get in contact with her if you have any questions. And do you have any last words for us, Karen?
The main thing I would say is, I really believe in compassion, and I think wherever you are, I should say compassion and grace. So that is my biggest message for anybody. If you haven't taken anything else away from this call, I would hope that you think about the passion and grace that you want given to you and that has already been given to you, that you can reflect that onto yourself first and then onto others. So I think that we're just all doing our best, and wherever you are, everything's going to be okay. And that let's just release the shame and the guilt, no matter where you are with your money, no matter where you are in your business, and show ourselves a little bit of love and compassion and grace, because you're beautiful. I mean, we really are all just beautiful beings doing our best to show up in the world, and whatever lessons you've already learned or you're going to learn to move forward, you're exactly where you should be, and you're perfect the way you are. That's the last of my message.
Yes. And you're exactly where you want to be is key, right? If you want to be somewhere else, all you have to do is, contact the right people, talk to the right people, and
Yes.
you will be exactly where you want to be.
Well, I appreciate your time, Catherine. And for anybody who's interested, like she said, I'll share some more information in the links. But I appreciate this conversation. I thought it was, we touched on a lot of great topics.
Yeah. Hopefully, the viewers can relate to our stories. Being moms, I know what we do most of the times is for our family.
Yes.
So
yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.